over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. What if this was your daughter?
Wherever I go, I find my way home.
From human form into lizard form. I saw this with my own eyes many, many times.
I was in America on a speaking tour. I say a speaking tour in those days. A speaking tour largely meant talking to myself. You know, I mean, I went to Chicago and spoke to 8 people, or near Chicago anyway. But on that speaking tour, over a period of about 15 days, I met 12 separate people, and I was going to a different place every day, who told me the same basic story, how they'd seen humans turn into a reptilian form and then back again. And it was such a common theme that they were describing that I started exploring from that time. So it came into my life very quickly. I'd kind of heard like little mentions of it before and just let it go. But in this 15-day period, that really focused my mind. So there's something to look at here. When you're faced with that situation with, or you know, one person after another in different parts of America telling you the same thing, you can either go, I'm not going there, what will people say if I start talking about this stuff? Or you can say, information's my guide, I'm going there.
And trust me when I tell you, they are the most evil creatures that you could possibly imagine on this planet. When I was taken out for rituals in these places, the Queen would come out last because she was the master of ceremonies. Just like she leads this country, and Prince Philip is always second, she would come out last. She was the master of ceremonies. And she would walk out, and there would be a glitching process that goes on. And she would turn around and stare me straight in the eyes if it was my turn on the concrete slab. And she would make me watch her change. Her face would change first.
You are very brave, Jenny. You are very brave, my dear. You are very brave, Jenny. Jehovah will bless you for it. Jehovah will stand them accountable and they will die.
Right, guys. I've just given myself a bit more courage now.
Go on, baby.
Okay, so she would turn and look at me, okay? She would turn and look at me and make me stare her in the face while she glitched and went from human form to reptilian form. Then she would turn around so I could just see the back of her, and this was the same routine every single time. She would then change in physical form and she would become very, very tall. I can't tell you how tall, I don't know, but very, very tall. Very tall and very thin. Prince Philip would already be in reptilian form. I never saw him change from human to reptilian. I just used to see him change back, but it was all about her. She would come out and everybody had done the blood drinking and she would then change. She would glitch.
What then happened is I came back from there to the Isle of Wight, and I was meeting someone, actually not very far from here, who had been married to a Satanist who had been the warden for Burnham Beeches. Burnham Beeches out west of London is owned by the City of London, the financial district. And it is a big place of Satanism and very strange happenings. It's wooded copses and few open areas. And she asked to meet me because of what I was writing about, because she wanted to tell me about the Satanism which she experienced. And she told me when I met her about seeing Ted Heath, former Prime Minister of Britain, took us into the European Union, doing a satanic ritual at Burnham Beeches, because she lived there in the warden's house. And when this conversation was finished, and I was having a cup of tea, and I was just finished my tea, and I was putting it down and turning to go, and I just said to her as a throwaway line, I've just come back from America, and I met all these people that kept telling me how they'd seen people turning to reptiles. And I heard her first, and I turned around. She's going, oh my God, I wasn't going to tell you about that. She said what happened was she saw lights, and she took the dog out that night, and then she went through and looked through the trees at this light, and she saw Heath in this circle. And she said what she then saw was Heath shift into a reptilian form and grow about 2 feet, which is absolutely common in descriptions of this all over the world. And she said he started speaking then in a voice a bit like, she described it as a bit like the old transatlantic telephone conversations when there was gaps. And she said the thing that shocked her more than anything else is that when this happened, no one in the circle moved in any way that related to shock or surprise. It seemed to them the most common thing you could imagine. And from the American experience, and that lady too, then the synchronicity of my life started bringing more and more information in about it, and more people with experiences about it. And that's been the way my life has gone in the last 25 years. A subject will come out of nowhere into my life, and then suddenly, bang, information about that subject's coming from everywhere. And that's what happened with the reptilian thing.
I want you to know that this is not easy for me, you know that. But this is also something that I wish was not true, because this is a whole other level of what the world needs to know. You need to wake up to the fact that everything you think you know to be true is a lie. Everything you think to be true is a lie. I'm going to read out, hold on a second. I'm going to read now the testimony. I'm going to give you more idea of what is actually going on in this world. And this is a testimony of a survivor of satanic ritual abuse. She's also a survivor of the Royals and many, many others. Okay, guys, this is for Elle, who I could not respect and honour any further more than what I am going to do today. She's a very brave survivor. My name is Elle. That's not her name, okay? She's anonymous because she's still too scared. I am a survivor of satanic ritual abuse from South Africa with a royal bloodline who was subjected to satanic ritual abuse, trafficking and horrendous tortures and abuse under the project. Now this is what I want you to learn about today. The project that's been run for decades by the senior royals alongside Joseph Mengele. In 1944, with the help of Mengele, funded in part by Prince Philip and King George VI, the birth of a very evil project was initiated, where thousands of embryos were scientifically formed with very specific ovum and sperm cells spliced together. These ovum and sperm cells were donated from particular senior royals. which were frozen and then at planned times over a period of approximately 30 years, planted into specially selected wombs of generational satanic families across the globe.
When I was a gynecologist in training, about 27 years ago, I knew it was possible to do this. The main difference is that an artificial womb is filled with liquid and the incubator is filled with air. An incubator is a kind of hostile environment for extremely preterm babies. Air damages the lungs. So the baby is born now, very preterm baby, very small, and then we're putting the baby in the artificial womb, and then we are going to connect the baby immediately to an artificial placenta. The artificial womb is a liquid environment filled with water and all kinds of minerals, so the baby gets the oxygen and the nutrients via the umbilical cord, just like when they are in a natural environment. There we keep the baby for several weeks. The baby grows, and after 4 weeks we do the birth again. That could save a lot of lives.
I was pregnant with James. He was really very, very tiny and perfectly complete at the same time. At 24 weeks, life began in an incubator. I was so obsessed by the risk that James got an infection that we washed our hands all day long until they were bleeding. It's inhuman to have so many sorrows for such a little human being, but you can't protect him.
I take care of the pregnant mother, and usually it's a very happy event in the woman's life. But in cases that they are born extremely preterm, it will become a very difficult situation. There are several that stayed with me, yes. This baby is about 800 grams, and the babies in artificial womb will be about 400 grams.
So half the size of this baby?
Half the size of this baby, yes.
I imagine further down in the future, an artificial womb could become part of a lifestyle choice for women, because you don't have to worry about the morning sickness, changes into your body. I think it could be very interesting for some people, like if you think about gay men. I feel like there's this narrative in society that there is this ideal of natural reproduction. Natural reproduction is not the only way.
I think it's a dream come true. It's almost like magic. And I hope that we use the knowledge and the technology wisely.
I don't think this will be a solution for women who are not able to get kids. I don't know what consequences are for the babies. We do nothing know about the short-term and the long-term implications. This project will take about 5 years, and then we are going to start with human babies.
Wombs of generational satanic families across the globe. I want you to really think about this after today. I want you to hear this back. Think about what I'm telling you here. These artificial wombs, they are set up. I think there's actually something online now you can actually go and have a look. They're mass rooms filled with artificial wombs. And this is what they're doing because they want their bloodline kept. They want their bloodline pure for adrenochrome. Elle goes on to say, this is where her courage really comes in. I am one of those embryos that survived. Despite, and this is her fight back now, despite your efforts to make me into a mind-controlled slave via countless rituals since birth, counting on extreme trauma so I would not remember to tell or be too afraid to tell. Not anymore. Elle's finding her voice.
Yes! Yes!
Many more of us have survived across the globe and have become warriors of the truth. And with God's grace, we'll keep standing for the truth and light to overcome any and all darkness. Elle, which I'm going to go and tell you now, because I want you to have as much truth about the truth of this planet as I can possibly give you by the end of my speech. Elle goes on to tell you about the truth about what happened to Lady Di. She knew her personally. In fact, because of the bloodline and the embryo situation, they were related. And she wants to honour her because she did try and fight for the children. Since Lady Di can't speak out for herself anymore, having brutally suffered at your hands too via satanic ritual abuse and other abuse and harassment, I would like to pay tribute to her and all those children, babies and adults that suffered in similar fashion, who she helped to protect in standing for the ultimate truth and ultimately died for. Elle told me she was killed in a ritual. Her authentic love and tenacity for the truth will always live on as a testimony and legacy that will keep encouraging the rest of us survivors to overcome by the grace of God. Elle was also witness to the Queen Mother, the Queen and Prince Philip shape-shifting into reptilians. This survivor is finding the courage to speak publicly now, but in a group where she is safe that I've set up. But I'm sure one day she'll be stood like I am, like so many of us are. This world is not what you think it is. It's lies. And I'm going to now just read you one more testimony. This person also wants to remain anonymous. She gets threats often. She was a victim of the royals and many, many more. But I'm going to tell you something else that this lady survived, because I want to give you more understanding of the deception that these people that have been running our world have brought upon you even more. But she's an incredible survivor. Dreamland, the place where nightmares are made, aka also known as Area 51.
Now, the really interesting part. Every year, at least 8 million children go missing in the world. I can attest that 1/3 of them are abducted by government operatives and transported to any one of the 1,477 underground military installations on the planet, then imprisoned for the remainder of their lives. The children are subjected to biological and genetic experiments, dissections, and mutilation.
So before I tell you what actually goes on there, guys, the world is led to believe that they're there protecting aliens, aren't they? Yes. Which do exist, by the way. But that military compound isn't for that. It's called Dreamland. Area 51, to those that know, to those that are held there, to those that have escaped there. This survivor escaped Area 51. It's a military compound in the state of Nevada, in a desert-like area. It's also the most guarded and secure place on the planet, but not for the reasons they tell you. It's about 140 plus levels deep, going down into the ground. Each level containing a different type of evil. One level, they breed and birth soldiers for MK Ultra.
From MK Ultra programming, many guests are wearing masks with multiple faces. Victims of MK Ultra programming report systematic and ritualized pedophilia, drug and sexual abuse, and torture designed to deliberately shatter the minds of victims into multiple personalities called alters, which can be molded and manipulated at will.
They're trained as child assassins. They live and train for one purpose: to kill and to obey. On another level, they have a hall as far as your eyes can see.
During my stay at the Vanguard Underground Base north of Phoenix, Arizona, I witnessed many of these procedures. Because there was no form of anesthesia administered to the young patients, the halls reverberated with the screams of tortured children from morning to night. The ones that perished were incinerated in the installation's crematoriums.
That they hold that are pregnant. Most of them are 9 months pregnant in October. Halloween, guys. They are chained to a bed and monitored. They are the breeders for the adrenochrome. Some to be offered to the darkness, sacrificed. They have no names and are tagged like cattle. And guys, this is happening now as we speak. All of this. On other levels, the focus on the gifted children, the ones with special abilities. Different levels, different horrors. Government officials and top elite have access to this place. The horrors are indescribable, what they do to children. Not only does this place have loads of children and infants that will never ever see daylight again, but the sole purpose is to provide the elite with the adrenochrome, the fountain of youth elixir. 80 to 90% of the world's adrenochrome comes from this location. That's what goes on in Area 51. That's the truth. Now, to produce this, you must torture the child or infant to do this. Don't believe me? Do a study how it is produced and made. Someone had the idea that I once knew to storm Area 51. That person was assassinated. All because this information was going to get out. This is where the head of the snake resides. It's time to cut it off. It's time. The children need us. She's given me some names of people that raped her and abused her and sexually, satanically, ritually abused her in Area 51 in Dreamland. Klaus Schwab, Dick Cheney. I just want to say for a minute, in front of all these names, she's put the word uncle because that's what they have to call them. Uncle Klaus Schwab, Uncle Dick Cheney, William Casey, Robert Gates, Admiral William Webster, John Deutsch, George Tennant, David Rockefeller Jr., George Bush. Now, she probably has 50 names like that, okay? But let me tell you, there are hundreds of us, hundreds. We survived for a reason. I don't know how I'm still here. If they didn't kill me, I nearly killed myself in the years that followed. I don't know why I'm still here, but I know this is my purpose and I know this is what I've got to do. So I don't know how, but I know why. And I will keep going. Yes! Because for as long as I am breathing, I will not sit back and wait for these to kill, torture or harm any more babies and children. These are our babies. These are our children. And every single child on this planet matters. Every single child. Once you know this truth, you cannot pretend you haven't heard it. You cannot go about your day not thinking about these babies and these children. And next time you do see on the news, because they let one out every now and again about a child abduction, just remember now, you know where they're being taken. You know what that's for. Guys, thank you so much. The world needs to know the truth. Yes, everybody needs to know the truth.
Over 2 million children a year are being sucked into the deepest recesses of hell. If we do nothing, someday it's gonna reach the likes of you. What if this was your daughter?
Wherever